Hey there, and welcome to another exciting episode of A for Effort, coming to you with another quality movie review. I'm your host, Matt, and as always, we start off giving thanks to our unofficial sponsor of the podcast, MoviePass. $9.95 a month gets you one movie a day at local cinemas in your area. Check MoviePass.com for theater listings and offer availability. Right off the top, I just want to give a spoiler warning. We are going to break down what I'm calling so far this year, at the almost midway point, the best movie of the year, Avengers Infinity War. As I said in the other review, it gets an A with 4+ marks. It was absolutely incredible from top to bottom. It was an experience like none other. 10 years in the making, they could not have done a better job. Yes, there are some nitpicks. I'm hearing a lot of people nitpick the fact that these are false stakes at the end of this movie, or that these are things we will break down. But first, I just want to go over some moments that I felt like really stood out in this movie. It's going to be some emotional moments, some comedy moments, some action moments. I have to say, again, I was just floored at how incredibly amazing this movie really was. So without further ado, let's break down some of the best moments this movie has to offer. Right off the top, some of the most hilarious moments in this movie come really at the expense of Thor. When Thor first meets up with the Guardians of the Galaxy after he's stranded off in space when Thanos destroys the Asgardian ship, more on that a bit later, he meets up with the Guardians of the Galaxy, and right from the jump, he lands on the windshield, and Rocket's like, get him off, use the wipers. And it's quite hilarious. He ends up on the ship, and they're like, Star-Lord's like, this is just a dude. And Drax says to him, this is no dude, you're a dude, this is a man. It's like a pirate had sex with an angel. It was absolutely hilarious. And then, because Star-Lord is so jealous of Thor, he eventually starts mimicking him, and it becomes a hilarious moment. Very, very, very funny moment. And it ends on a great note where he says, two of the Infinity Stones are being protected on Earth by the Avengers, and they ask him who the Avengers are, and he says they're Earth's mightiest heroes, and Mantis replies with, like Kevin Bacon, and Thor very quietly, very subtly says, maybe, I don't know, I haven't been on the team in a while. And it was just hilarious. The next moment is when our team of Doctor Strange, Iron Man, and Spider-Man meet one half of the Guardians, Quill, Drax, and Mantis, for an eventual team up on the planet Titan, and it was quite hilarious. There's a moment when Star-Lord asks, where is Gamora? Tony asks, who is Gamora? And then Drax, in all of his glory, goes, I'll do you one better. Why is Gamora? And it was absolutely hilarious. And the final moment that really set the bar for hilarity in this movie, and this is one of the best things about this movie, is that they take jokes like the Kevin Bacon joke, and it comes from another movie. They've done it before, but yet they somehow find a way to work it into another movie. And this is, if you are a fan like I am, I've seen all 19 movies, you get some hilarity from the little things. And so this next moment is one of those moments. So Thor lands on Wakanda and comes to the aid of the Avengers that are in Wakanda, and he's fighting next to Cap, and Cap goes, oh, you got a haircut. And he goes, you copied my beard. And then he introduces him to his friend Tree, and Cap doesn't know Groot. So when Groot says, I am Groot to him, Cap assumes he's introducing himself, so he turns to him and goes, I am Steve Rogers. And it was one of the best payoffs for a long-term fan. It was absolutely hilarious to see Steve Rogers meet Groot, and that was a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful moment. Some of the action beats that I loved, right off the top, Hulk v Thanos, and it was amazing because Hulk goes in full Hulk style, starts punching him, and then Cole Obsidian tries to step in, and Ebony Maw holds him back and says, now let Thanos have his fun. And then all of a sudden the fight changes, and you realize what kind of a threat Thanos is, because he just annihilates the Hulk. And it was an absolutely insane 2-minute fight. It might even have been less than that, but it felt like it was a fight we had been waiting for. It just really, really was an incredible, incredible little fight scene to let you know the type of villain that Thanos was. Right after that, when Hulk lands on Earth, we're introduced to Strange and Iron Man's interactions, and then eventually Spidey shows up, and there's a donut-shaped spaceship that arrives, and it contains Maw and Obsidian, and they come out and they have a great little fight. 5 of them, also one more, 6, including Wong, and it was just a brilliant, brilliant fight scene, and it shows the power of Maw going up against the magic of Strange and Wong. And then finally, the entire third act of this movie was absolutely insane, 100%. I mean, from the minute we arrived on Titan, half of the Guardians met our pairing of Strange, Iron Man, and Spider-Man, and then Thanos shows up and they have an epic fight out, trying to get the gauntlet off. And then our entire battle in Wakanda, I mean, from the minute that, there's a moment when they open the barriers to let them in because they know if they circle the barrier. There's no chance of them, no stopping them from getting to Vision. And so Black Panther decides to open the gates and let them in, and then you just see everyone take off running, you know, after he proclaims Wakanda forever. And him and Cap just are running side by side far out in front of the rest of the pack of people and are the first to get to the battle, and it's just an amazing scene. And then again, Thor shows up in the middle via the new Bifrost that he can create from Stormbreaker with Rocket and Groot, and there's a moment when Bucky Barnes picks up Rocket and they spin around. It's like, and again, it's another one of those callbacks to the amazing, if you've seen all 19 movies, amazing little callbacks, because you have the callback to the first Guardians when Rocket is on the back of Groot firing a gun, then the callback to Guardians 2 when Groot is on Rocket's shoulder firing a gun, and now Bucky picks up Rocket and spins him around firing their gun. It was a brilliant callback to the other movies and stuff that you wouldn't get without being into these movies and really die-harding into all 19. If you just watch the 3 Avengers movies, that's great too, but if you've die-harded into all 19, there are payoffs that this movie had that you can't get anywhere else. And now I want to break into the emotional moments. First off, right off the top, 5 minutes into this movie, I lost my favorite character. Tom Hiddleston has been an amazing arc from start to finish over 5 movies with Loki, and it's just the true power of Thanos. He just annihilates Loki, strangles him to death, and snaps his neck right in front of Thor. And you feel the moment, because he's the one that says, "We have a Hulk," and unleashes the Hulk in the fight scene with Thanos. And then, you know, he tries one last time to play a trick on Thanos by pledging his loyalty to him, but trying to stab him. And you see it in his eyes, because he looks over at Thor as he's like pledging his loyalty, and he says, "I am Loki of Asgard, the rightful ruler of Jotunheim, Prince of Asgard, and Odin's son." And he says it all looking in Thor's eyes. You know, you see that moment when he says, "I am truly your brother. I am an Odin's son, and I believe that now." Because all through those movies, he's been fighting that. And he has truly become an Odin's son. And he died for it. And it was an emotional moment right off the rip. And I can't be more proud to call him my Loki. He was a brilliant actor and a brilliant character. And it broke my heart. Again, Thor steals the show in this movie, because there's a scene towards the middle of the movie where him and Rocket and Groot are heading off to Nidavellir to build Stormbreaker. And Rocket comes over to him and tries to have like his captain moment, as he calls it, and says, "You know, are you all right? You know, I was listening to your story about how your dad died and you had to kill your sister, and do you have a mom?" And he says, "No, she died." "Do you have a best friend?" "No, he died. You know, your brother died." And he says, "Are you up for this fight?" And I was just broken hearted, because Thor has been through so much, but yet he's still willing to fight for the universe. And Chris Hemsworth just kills this scene, and he drops some tears out of his one eye. He says, "Yes, if Destiny wanted me dead, I'd be dead, but Destiny wants me alive, and I know that now." And it was just an absolutely brilliant scene. Next is Quill. Quill has a moment where I wasn't as impacted by the death of Gamora as I thought I'd be. I mean, it was a shocker. I didn't see it coming. But the impact of Peter realizing she is dead is what got me. In the moment on Titan when they're all fighting Thanos, the 7 of them, Quill, Drax, Mantis, Nebula, Iron Man, Spider-Man, and Strange, are all fighting Thanos, trying to get the gauntlet off his hand. And Quill lands and asks him where's Gamora, and Mantis is on his head trying to get him to go to sleep, and he goes, "He's in mourning, I feel mourning." And he says, "She's my Gamora, I had to do it." And in the moment, Peter and Nebula both realize that she's dead, and it's just heartbreaking. It's absolutely heartbreaking. But it was a brilliant scene played out. I know a lot of people are hating on Quill, like, why do you have to do it? You gotta remember, Quill is still a kid at heart. You know, he hasn't really grown up. He was an 8-year-old that got taken to space, and he got taught how to be a grown-up by aliens. You know, I mean, who knows what kind of man Quill would have become had he stayed on Earth? But this is the man he's become in space, and so he lashes out. He doesn't know how to control his emotions, and he lashes out. It's a scene, it's an emotional scene, and it's a beautiful scene. And then the last but not least, probably the most impactful one, when after Thanos snaps his fingers to use the entire gauntlet after he's obtained all 6 stones, all the characters start fading away slowly. We lose Bucky, Falcon, Black Panther, Scarlet Witch, Mantis, Drax, Star-Lord, Doctor Strange, and all of a sudden they're standing there. It's just Nebula, Spider-Man, and Iron Man. And Spider-Man goes, I don't feel so good, and drops to the ground, and Tony runs over, and he's like, I don't want to go, I don't want to go, I don't want to go, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. And you have this moment of like, oh my God, are they really doing this? You know? And it's just absolutely devastating to watch Spider-Man Peter Parker fade away. It was heartbreaking. But with those stakes, people are saying they're false. People are saying just because there's another movie coming, people that faded away in this movie, or the people that died in this movie, Vision, Loki, Heimdall, Gamora, everyone that faded away, doesn't matter. I don't believe that, not one bit actually. All of it matters. Every last bit of it matters, because there are everlasting ramifications from this film. Yes, there's false stakes in the fact that yes, there's probably a Black Panther 2, and there's definitely a Spider-Man 2, and there's definitely a Guardians 3 coming. But what says all of these characters have to make it back? Yes, Black Panther, and yes, Spider-Man will probably come back. But are all the Guardians going to come back? We don't know. The stakes were real. The stakes in this movie were higher than they ever were. These characters actually physically lost a fight. Not one of those prior 18 movies did the heroes lose their fight. They may have lost someone along the way, like a Yondu, but they never once lost their fight. And then in this movie, they lost. They lost everything in this movie. And it was a brilliant decision to end it on the note that they did. The people that fight that notion, they're wrong. They're just wrong. It was a brilliant decision. End the movie the way they did. It wasn't a cliffhanger because it ended exactly how Thanos said it would end. I will snap my fingers and I will wake up the next day on a grateful universe and smile that I have done what I was supposed to do. And that's exactly how the movie ended. It was not an Avengers movie. It was a Thanos movie. This movie shouldn't have the title Avengers. It literally should have just been called Infinity War, because it has more than just the Avengers. It has Strange. It has Black Panther. It has the Guardians. It has the main character be the villain, Thanos, and no movie has ever done that. The only series of movies that has ever made the villain the main character is Star Wars, and that is because we had to grow with Darth Vader for 6 movies to really truly understand the depth of Darth Vader. Marvel did it in 1. It gave you the depth of Thanos, and it was brilliant. I love this movie. It was an incredible feat to put all of these characters on screen together, and they can only do more for the next one. I believe wholeheartedly, this is a theory, this is completely a theorized moment in my mind, and I believe it to be true, and it will possibly come true. This is where I think it's going. There are characters that are for real without contracts. The Iron Mans, the Captain Americas, the Thors. They are done. What says that they don't sacrifice themselves to get the other characters back? My belief is that they're all inside the Soul Stone, right? So we went to the Soul Stone in that final moment and he saw a baby Gamora in there. I think that's actually Gamora in there, and that's how the Soul Stone chooses to portray her. And that's where all of the souls are gone to, and our heroes will sacrifice themselves to bring back these newer heroes that have to live on the legacy of this universe. Because the Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, Chris Hemsworth, Scarlett Johansson have all done their job for 10 years. It is time to pass the baton to the Benedict Cumberbatches, Chadwick Bosemans, Tom Hollands, and the Paul Rudds that are going to live this universe on from this moment. It is going to be an amazing feat to see where they go next. And that post-credits tag teasing Captain Marvel was the most hopeful tease we've ever had in a Marvel movie, because all that devastation that ended that movie turned it around and gave you that tiny glimmer of hope with Captain Marvel, and it was absolutely brilliant. I hope you enjoyed this slightly spoiler-filled episode where we talked about my favorite moments of the movie. Go out, see it as many times as you can. I've already seen it 3 times. This movie is making all the money. It's already made $1.2 billion in 13 days out in the world. That's it, 13 days. In the first weekend alone, it made $650 million worldwide, $258 million of that coming just here in the United States. It's absolutely brilliant how much this movie has made. It's the #1 grossing movie of all time for the first weekend opening, #2 movie all time for second weekend in the box office. It's already surpassed most of the superhero movies, with only Black Panther left in its sights, and it's only got another $200 million to go before it passes it, and it will make that money probably in the next 2 weeks, and it still hasn't opened in China. That's how important this movie is, and the genre is better for it. So with that, I've been your host, Matt. Avengers Forever. Infinity War was brilliant. Go see it. Don't hate on this movie for what you think it lacked. It has everything you want, from humor to heart to emotion. Everything you need. Go see it. Long live the Avengers. I love this movie. Go see it as many times as possible. A for Effort Movie Reviews.